Professor, welcome back. Always good to see you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, I know I've lost count. What are you at, like 540 books now? I don't know when you find the time. What's the case for the latest one? Like it seems like uh, it's a different angle, and I was sort of intrigued by who's. I mean, you have a list of people who are back in this book that I thought was sort of a potpourri of the political spectrum.
Yeah, I mean, it includes Justice Stephen Breyer. It includes people on the left, people in the center. It's a very serious book about how we are moving. It's called a preventive state. How we're moving away from reacting to dangerous harms to trying to prevent them. Obviously, a perfect example is the United States and Israeli decision to go after Iran's nuclear reactors before they had a chance to create a bomb, locking people up when they're on bail instead of letting them out so they can commit crimes. Those are preventive. Obviously, inoculations to prevent the spread of disease. So my thesis is that we are moving as a country toward more prevention and away from mere reaction. And we don't have a jurisprudence for that. We say when we convict people of crime, better 10 guilty go free than one innocent be wrongly confined. But we don't say how many instances of terrorism are we prepared to prevent at what cost of how many innocent people being locked up. So this is an attempt to bring together all the preventive mechanisms, medical, legal, environmental, and to try to create a jurisprudence. It's kind of the summary of 60 years of work I've done on this subject. And I've written a lot of articles on this, academic articles. I decided to write a popular book for ordinary readers who are not lawyers and not professors about this very, very important development. And I got a lot of support for it from, as you say, people from very, very diverse backgrounds, because it's not political. It's completely analytic, and it applies to all Americans who want to prevent danger, but also don't want to create a police state in the effort to prevent danger. So it tries to strike a balance between prevention of harm and prevention of denial of civil liberties.
All right, well, then it's actually a perfect example that I was going to bring up, which is this Venezuelan strikes, right? So the U.S. is taking on these drug boats that the government's argument is they're full of fentanyl, they'd come to the United States, and that they would infect hundreds of thousands of Americans potentially. So this is a preventative attack.
Right.
Here's my question. Is it legal?
Yes, it's absolutely legal. The question is it moral? And is it moral? It depends on how many innocent people you get. If you are accurate and the only people that you're shooting at and killing are drug dealers, who's shedding any tears for that? If, on the other hand, in order to prevent 10 fentanyls from landing in the United States, you have to shoot at 20 boats, 10 of which are going to be innocent people, that creates a hard problem. But the United States government, starting obviously with Thomas Jefferson, the halls of Montezuma, the shores of Tripoli, we sing that song. What were the shores of Tripoli? They were pirates that were endangering American sailors and American ships in the Mediterranean. And Jefferson went after them and got them. And from the beginning of time, the United States has taken the position that we are entitled to protect our shores before they get to our shores. Israel did the same thing, obviously, when it prevented the flotilla, even though that didn't present a real danger. That presented just political concerns. But countries are entitled to go beyond the 3 mile or 5 mile or whatever international law provides on any given day in order to prevent dangers from coming to our country. If we could have prevented 9/11, obviously, by killing the people before they got to America's shores, we would have done it, and we should have done it. So prevention is crucially important, but it has to be done within the context of understanding that we sometimes make mistakes.
All right. First of all, way to work in the Marine Corps hymn on its 250th anniversary. That was very well done. Very well done. But let me ask you this. What concerns me from a civilian side is, let's just say we're in the South China Sea. China shoots at one of our boats and says, hey, we're preventing what we believe was some kind of imminent attack. And say, guys, you guys went after Venezuela. We thought you were going to attack us, and we took preventive states. Tell me, how do we, what prevents the preventative, your argument from flipping on our heads?
I tell you, you would have gotten an A+ in my class. That's the
first.
Press it in a chapter in the book. And I say virtually every attack has been called preventive. Japanese claim that they attacked Pearl Harbor because we were planning an attack from Pearl Harbor on the Japanese mainland. Even Hitler claimed that his attack on Poland was preventive. Everybody uses the term preventive, but, as Potter Stewart said about hardcore pornography, we know it when we see it. And we know that the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor was not. It was aggressive. And but you get into tough issues. Israel's attack in 1967 on Egypt and Syria, because they had information that Syria and Egypt were about to attack. Is that preventive? Is it preemptive? Is it reactive? These are hard questions. And that's why I could write a book about it. And I address all those questions and show how difficult a decision it is, especially in the tit-for-tat world in which we live. Because if we take preventive action, they'll take preventive action. Look at what happened to the Cuban Missile Crisis, another perfect example. We were worried that there might be nuclear weapons 60 miles from our shores, so we thought about taking preventive action, and cooler minds prevailed, and the Soviets pulled back, and we pulled back, and we prevented a cataclysmic mutual attack on both of us. So there's great dangers in prevention. I'm not saying prevention is the panacea. I'm saying it exists. It's happening.
Right.
It happens. We better think about it. And that's what I try to do in this 55th book of mine, The Preventive State.
55th book. I don't think I've read 55 books, and you've written 55. All right, so let me just ask you, you brought up Israel a couple of times, and you're an expert in this area. You've written before. One of multiple, I'm sure several of your books have dealt with it. I know one of them recently. What do you think of the current deal, and does it hold?
I like it. I like the current deal. I think that a great credit not only to President Trump, but he couldn't have done it unless Israel had laid the foundation for it by neutralizing Iran, by neutralizing Hamas and Hezbollah. This was a perfect combination of American diplomacy on top of Israeli military prowess. It shows when the two countries work together, we are invincible. But when we're apart, each of us have vulnerabilities. And so I liked the deal. I thought it was good. My friends, both of them are friends of mine, Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, are, as you know, in Israel, trying to make sure the deal holds. I think the deal will hold because President Trump wants it to hold. Look, there's never been a more powerful president in my lifetime in the world than Donald Trump. You may love him, you may hate him, but nobody can deny that he has asserted American power. He is telling Israel what they can do and what they can't do. Previous Prime Minister of Israel have told President Bush, they've told President Reagan, sorry, we appreciate your advice, but we're going after the Acerric reactor. We're going after the Syrian reactor. You don't do that with Donald Trump. If Donald Trump tells you to do something and to forbear from doing something, you do something. Probably one of the most important meetings in the White House and the Oval Office was the meeting with Zelensky. Because every time I talk to Israelis, the first response is, we don't want to become Zelensky. We don't want to create a problem with the president. And so he has asserted his power in a way that has been very influential on all sides of every issue. Hamas doesn't want to take risks with him. Israel doesn't want to take risks with him. And as long as he uses good judgment, I think he will go down in history as a very good president in the international sphere. And so I'm hoping that it will hold.
All right, I hate to interrupt this amazing conversation with Professor Dershowitz, but Halloween is just around the corner. We're like 10 days away. And if you want to have the ultimately cool Halloween candy treat, don't worry about the candy stuff that you can get at the supermarket. Do something unbelievably memorable and different. Get a Keksi gourmet cookie. Keksi. These things are unbelievable. And right now they've created this limited Halloween cookie box packed with 6 cookies, right? They've got one called the Mummy Cookie. It's a chocolate cookie stuffed with Nutella and packed with white chocolate chips and then topped with their homemade frosting. Look, it's a holiday, so you can cheat a little, but I'm telling you, and these cookies are worth it. It is a whole new type of cookie that you've probably never tried. When I say a gourmet cookie, I mean a gourmet cookie. Listen, it is unbelievable. You will be so noticed if you hand out something that's different and like completely enjoyable. They have a whole range of cookies that you can get year round. The Halloween cookie box, though, only comes out in limited edition right now. Once Halloween comes or the stock is depleted, it's gone. So if you want to have something really cool and unique and different for Halloween, go get this now. Go to Keksi, KEKSI.com, Keksi Cookie. And if you want any of the other ones, not the Halloween, I can't do that. I'm only so good. But any of those other amazing gourmet cookies, maybe it's a gift. Maybe you want to get ready for Christmas or the other holidays or Thanksgiving. You want the amazing dessert that everyone's going to go, where did you get these cookies? Go to KeksiCookie.com and use code Sean, SEAN 15, Sean 15 for 15% off everything else. You just can't get it on the Halloween box. I can only do so much. That's how good these things are. They don't need a discount code. Keksi Cookies. So go to Keksi, KEKSI.com. Use code Sean 15. All right, back to my great discussion with Alan Dershowitz. All right, I want to get a couple takes on some hot legal issues. The Pentagon has asked reporters who want to cover the Pentagon from inside to sign an agreement that they won't solicit classified information from people that they would encounter in the Pentagon. In response, most major news outlets have said, we won't sign it, we're walking out. I don't believe that, in my personal opinion, that's not a violation of the First Amendment. The press has a right to cover the Pentagon. The press has a right to write whatever they want. But if you want to come into the building, you can't attempt to break the law, i.e. solicit classified information. Sure. This is your expertise. Tell me where the line is between the First Amendment and the right of the government to say, if you want to access this building, you can do it under these circumstances.
Correct. People forget, they honor Daniel Ellsberg. Daniel Ellsberg shouldn't be honored. He was a crook, he was a thief, and maybe even committed some variation of the violation of the Espionage Act. He stole material, and the Times was right to publish it. But no journalist has the right to seek it and solicit it. Cy Hersh used to do that all the time, and he got Pulitzer Prizes and all kinds of rewards for that. It's wrong. You can publish classified material if somebody gives it to you. But if you solicit classified material, you are a criminal, not protected by the First Amendment. That's clear. And I challenge any criminal lawyer, any constitutional lawyer to challenge me on that. It is a crime to solicit somebody to give you classified material.
So just so you're clear, because this is, without having the academic credentials of Alan Dershowitz, this has been my argument, which is if you want to go into the building, you can cover it and write anything you want. But the Pentagon's saying, we're going to let you come in and access our people, which, by the way, I've told people, you can't go into the Department of Education. You can't go into the Department of Health and Human Services. The State Department and DOD are probably the only two organizations outside of the White House that let reporters come in and pretty much roam freely. But we're not allowing you to do it and allowing you to break a law. So that restriction is not a violation of the First Amendment.
Absolutely not. When you were press secretary, you were very open and you would give people all the information that was available that you were allowed to do. But if the New York Times ever came to you and said, hey, Sean, we know that when the president briefs you, occasionally we'll give you some information that's classified and tells you not to tell us. If you give us that information, we'll write a good story about you. That's a crime. And if you said yes to that, you would be a conspirator. So you did your job right. But you, as a person who had access to some kinds of confidential material, I don't know your level of access, you could not give that material to somebody in the New York Times. And if they asked for it, they would be committing a crime.
So that's the key line that I may still maintain today, a very high security clearance because of my military duties. But that's the key point that you're making that I don't think people get. It's one thing for me as a possessor of who has access to it, but if I solicit it, that in itself is a crime, correct?
Absolutely. Soliciting a crime is a crime under federal law and under state law. And virtually every country in the world makes that a crime. It's either a conspiracy or solicitation. And what is solicitation? Well, solicitation is attempted conspiracy because if the person agrees, it's a conspiracy. So if you solicit somebody to do a crime, it's as if you go to somebody and say, look, I have this enemy. I really would like you, if I pay you $10,000 to bump him off. That's a crime. If the person says, yes, I'll do it, it's conspiracy. But if the person says, no, I'm not going to do it, and he turns you in, you've already committed a crime by soliciting him to do it.
That's yeah, I love that. Thank you. Now I actually feel a little bit more solid in my defense of this.
Right.
I want to turn to the House of Representatives. We're in a government shutdown, as you know, day 20. When the House returns, this member from Arizona, Gravala, is going to get sworn in. Ostensibly, the discharge petition regarding the Epstein files will pass. It'll go to the Senate. It will die a slow death there. The president will never sign it into action. But what is it? Regardless of whether this discharge petition passes or not, what should, not will, but what should the government do with respect to the Epstein files?
Every single piece of paper should be revealed. And you want to hear the big secret? It won't really give you new information about people who are accused. We know who's accused. We know Virginia Giuffre has written a new book. It'll be out in the next few days. And she names names. She's named names before. She named George Mitchell. She named Bill Richardson. She named me. She obviously withdrew the naming of me and said she may have confused me with somebody else. She named Ehud Barak. She named a prominent professor, another professor, prominent professor at Harvard. We know that. That's not new. You know what's going to come out that's new? All the stuff about the accusers, which show that many of them have made up stories. We know that there are accusers who have been paid $50,000 who never, ever even met Jeffrey Epstein. This is a scam on all sides because Epstein is so radioactive. If anybody comes in and says, oh, I had sex with Epstein and he did this to me, that to me, they get $50,000 from the Epstein fund. And so these false accusations are rampant. And what the courts won't do is give out the information that shows that a lot of the accusers were lying because they want to protect the victims. What are they, victims? Who's the victim if somebody is falsely accused? It's the false accuser. 10 Commandments, thou shalt not bear false witness. And going back to the Bible, if you bore false witness against somebody, you know what your punishment was? Exactly the same as if the witness was truthful, that the person who was the villain would get. So if you said in the biblical times, oh, I saw somebody murder somebody and it was false, you got the death penalty. But we're allowing false witnesses to get away with murder and defamation. And a lot of these claims are absolutely false. I know that for a fact. I can tell you the names of people. I can do it right now. A woman named Sarah Ransom wrote articles and letters for the New York Post to a woman named Maureen Callahan. Name names. I want to name names. In which she said she has videotapes of Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, Richard Branson, all having sex with young people. She said that. She wanted it printed. She filed affidavits under oath, subject to perjury. And we have evidence that everything she said was false. Everything she said was false. She made it all up. And that's the evidence that's being suppressed.
So the real story here that no one's talking about isn't what Jeffrey Epstein did. It's, according to what I'm hearing you say, what he didn't do, actually.
Well, we don't know what he did and what he didn't do. But I can tell you, Sarah Ransom and Mary Farmer, or whatever her name is, something Farmer, made up false stories. And yet CNN puts Farmer all the time. Ransom is quoted all the time. These are people, for example, the Farmer, a woman who's made all these accusations. She's denied the Holocaust. She has said that Jews are the pedophiles of the world. But you don't see that because the media is afraid to go after the, quote, victims. And there are some victims. There are some very, very seriously hurt victims. But there are also some perpetrators who call themselves victims. And they're the ones that are being protected now by the courts. And therefore, I challenge every single document should be revealed, not only some of them, every one of them. You can't have selective. You can't have somebody saying, oh, I had sex with somebody, and that's revealed, naming the person, but not revealed the fact that she, at another context, admitted she made it up. That's what's best.
So can you, what, and I guess I'm asking to surmise and conjecture, but like, why wouldn't the DOJ want to release this and say, see, all of this is out there? What would be the motive not to get more out?
The DOJ, it's the courts, it's the judges, it's federal judges in New York that are suppressing this. They are suppressing this because they say we will not allow anything that criticizes victims to be produced. But even the Republicans, even the ones and the Democrats who are calling for the release of the documents are all saying, oh, of course, protect the victims. Don't release their information. That's the deep fallacy. We don't know who the victims are. We know some of the victims, but we don't know these people who claim they're victims, who are victimizing innocent people. Sarah Ransom, perfect example. Please, media, investigate her. She claimed under oath, she accused people, including me, but including Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, and then she admitted it was all false. But the admissions are being suppressed. Only the accusations are out there. The same thing with Bill Farmer and others.
Are there other people, other prominent politicians? I mean, it sounds to me what you're saying now is that if I were to someone were to have their name released, they say, I heard what Professor Alan Dershowitz said. This is all a lie. I'm being framed. How do we start to figure out who is a perpetrator? For example, you saw Prince Andrew this weekend say all of his titles are gone because it seemed to me he was getting in front of that. Versus somebody who says, I wasn't there. You've been very clear about, hey, I'm going to clear my name because this is ridiculous. How do we know the difference?
Very easy for me because I've never had sex with anybody other than my wife from the day I met Jeffrey Epstein. Anybody. So you can ask me any question you want. The problem with Prince Andrew, he was known as Randy Andy, and he didn't want to sit down for a deposition because they could ask him about other people. You can ask me about all the people you want in the world. You get the most boring answers you've ever gotten. Yeah, no, I shook hands with her once. But so many of the people who have been accused can't bring lawsuits because they don't have good backgrounds and good records. It doesn't mean that they are being truthfully accused. In fact, smart false accusers will go after people who can't respond. The dumb thing about my accusers is they went after me. And I am so completely innocent that I had nothing to hide and nothing to lose by suing them all and winning my cases. But when you go after Prince Andrew, you're going to get a settlement because Prince Andrew's mommy said to him, oh, we can't have you sit for a deposition. It'll be embarrassing to the crown, embarrassing to the throne. So he had to settle the case. And that was a terrible, terrible mistake on his part.
Well, unless he's guilty, right?
Huh?
Unless he was guilty.
Well, even if he was guilty, what was he guilty of? Having sex with a 19-year-old who was paid $1,500 to have sex with him. He would have been much better off if he was guilty admitting that and saying, yeah, I was perfectly lawful. I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't know she was getting paid $15,000, but she was being paid for it. It was perfectly consensual. He would have been able to prevail on that. He was already Randy Andy. But once he started being interviewed and not necessarily being completely straight and candid about everything, that's where his troubles began. You're going to win only if you can tell the truth about everything, as I can, and if you never, ever, ever withhold information. From the day I was accused, I said, I will never refuse to answer a question. Ask me anything you want. I will give you the information. I also kept records so I could prove conclusively that I never was at the places where they said I was at. So I was absolutely the wrong person to accuse. But others may have been the right people to accuse, even if they're innocent, because they can't defend themselves.
Yeah, lesson learned. Don't go after Alan Dershowitz.
On issues like that, you can go after me for who I defend. You can go after me for, my defense of President Trump. People do. I spoke recently at the University of Idaho, and you should see the emails. They were attacking me like mad because I defended Donald Trump. Okay. I understand that, but the one thing you can't go after me on is my sex life.
Yeah. By the way, I've always said, I hope you don't take issue with this. I think you defend the rule of law. Like what you've always stood to me for, someone has said, this is the law. This is what so you either defend it like the First Amendment or you don't. But like you thick and thin, no matter who the person is, right, left, say, I stand up for the rule of law. And that's what makes you very different.
Yeah, and the best proof of that is when I gave my 1 and 6 minute defense of President Trump on the floor of the Senate, I never mentioned the name President Trump because I was defending the Constitution. The Constitution was being violated when he was being impeached on non-impeachable grounds. And so I was there to defend the Constitution and the rule of law. That's what I do all the time. I don't pick my clients. You know, the Bible has an interesting rule. It tells judges two things. and prosecutors. Just two things. Don't take bribes. That's obvious. The second is don't recognize faces. Lo takir panim, the original Hebrew. Don't recognize faces. Don't ever, ever do justice based on who the person is. Do it based on what they did. And it's been my life. I've, taken that as the mantra of my life. I don't recognize faces. No matter who you are, if you've been treated unjustly, I will defend you.
Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.